Welcome back to Mass Effect. As you can see, the Citadel is falling apart, the arms have been closed, the battle is no doubt raging outside. Just to forewarn you, there's going to be a part, I don't know if it's going to be in this video or the next one, where the end credits will roll, because we are awfully close to the end credits. And the end credits contain a licensed song, an awesome song, and I'm going to link it in the description so you can check it out. But it's a licensed one, so YouTube is probably going to pick it up in regards to copyright issues. Oh. Hello. So I will most likely be replacing it with a different thing. I haven't decided at the moment, just so you know what's up. But M4 by the Fonts, I believe, is the name of the song.
The Presidium is experiencing severe system malfunctions across the entire level.
Oh, really?
Personnel must evacuate immediately.
I thought you were doing some sort of interpretive dance.
Give me a rundown of the damage.
We have lost all primary power to the level. Environmental controls are not responding. Class 3 fires are burning in sectors 2, 3, 6, and 7. Civilian casualties are high.
That is probably the most cheery way to say how high civilian casualties are.
They are believed to be hostile. Please approach with caution.
Come on, we need to stop Saren before it's too late.
Please begin emergency evacuation procedures. This is not a drill.
Now it looks like we're going for another elevator ride, but alas, it's not going to be that easy. Now the arms are closing.
They're sealing the station.
I called it too soon.
Don't let the enemy ships inside the arms.
And stop them with what? With pointing. With very vigorous pointing. This is an awesome shot because the scale of it, everything kind of seems small from this distance, and then it switches to that ground perspective. And you get an excellent look at the size of the Sovereign in comparison to everything else.
Saren's locked the elevator. Suit up. We're going outside.
And for all the side missions, for all the Mako driving, like, I remember when I played this the first time just jumping out of that elevator and start walking sideways along the elevator shaft. Like, everything was finally awesome again. Because, like, look at that. Like, the weight of the scenario is brought back. It's not just random biotics on ship anymore. And then it has you ducking down, and whoa! You're dead. You're ducking down into tunnels, popping up, getting closer, and steadily closer. And you got a sprint button, because there are enemies everywhere. And then you got cannon fire coming up. It's still a linear level, but it's a little bit more exciting. Let us singularity you. Whoop. Alright. That wasn't too oh, yeah, shields. That. And eventually there's going to be a point in which I'm going to have to remember that I have that, barrier ability. Whoa, hello. Who needs a sniper rifle when you got a shotgun? With shotguns with this kind of range. Nope. There we go. But also, like, at this point in the game, like, I'm just more or less mowing down bad guys. I'm not gonna do any hacking. Ah. I probably should slow down my roll in regards to shooting everybody, but there are a lot of guys to shoot at. And kablooey! That went well, considering the chaos. Is he dead? Nope. He's still going. Nope. And jeez, I only ran for a little bit, and he's already right on top of me. Now here's a possible missed opportunity. Is the indoctrination effects of Sovereign. Supposedly just being close to Sovereign would indoctrinate the individual. Cause them to hear whispers. And that never happens in this game. There have been theories that I've heard in regards to Mass Effect 3. Like fan theories that came out after the... Oh, okay. That was fast. Alright, so as I was saying, in various Mass Effect 3 theories that came out, one of the more interesting ones is the idea that Shepard has always been indoctrinated, that everything that happened was always in her head. There really isn't too much evidence to kind of build that theory up, unfortunately. As much as I enjoy that alternate take, like the idea that, like there's no scene which I, or at the very least I don't remember a scene in which you're here. Ah, damn it. Alright, so... what am I mounting? Oh, I'm mounting this, thing. So the closest thing you could say to any sort of, like, mind manipulation that is shown to the player are the nightmares, that Shepard has in Part 3 about the boy that dies. Now, narratively, it's pretty much just that's the boy that died, that she could not save. He represents all of humanity. But at the same time, it could also represent the idea of Reaper manipulation, trying to get into her head. But that usually, well, I guess the people who are indoctrinated by the Reapers tend to stay indoctrinated even after they leave their effect. Still, it's a bit inconclusive, I would say, in my book. That kind of theory. It's interesting, but just not enough evidence to support it. Oh. I apparently clicked on the hatch too quickly, and Tally did not get to be healed. Also, where the hell is she? I mean, is she still in the... Okay. I guess I'm going on without her. And now to save my game so that I don't have to do that again for the 4th time? I mean, I don't need all 2 of my pals with me. I can do it on my own. Yeah, there we go. Ah, Tally, she showed up.
I was afraid you wouldn't make it in time, Shepard.
Let's end this!
You know that, don't you? In a few minutes, Sovereign will have full control of all the Citadel systems. The relay will open, the Reapers will return.
Okay, so I'm kind of disappointed that when I selected the option, I'm here now, she instead said, let's end this. If I knew she was going to say, let's end this, I would not have chosen that option. Because I chose it based on the idea that she would say, I'm here now. Because that's much more interesting as like an action movie type piece of dialogue.
Still got a few tricks up my sleeve.
You survived our encounter on Vermeer. But I've changed since then, improved. Sovereign has upgraded me.
You let Sovereign implant you? Are you insane?
I suppose I should thank you, Shepard. After Vermeer, I couldn't stop thinking about what you said. About Sovereign manipulating me. About indoctrination.
As you can tell by all the blue.
Eat away at me. Sovereign sensed my hesitation. I was implanted to strengthen my resolve. Now my doubts are gone. I believe in Sovereign completely. I understand that the Reapers need organics. Join us, and Sovereign will find a place for you, too.
Sovereign's controlling you through your implants. Don't you see that?
My implants are telling me not to see it.
Organic and machine intertwined, a union of flesh and steel. The strengths of both, the weaknesses of neither. I am a vision of the future, Shepard. The evolution of all organic life. This is our destiny. Join Sovereign and experience a true rebirth.
The evolution of organic life. The combination of the technological and the organic. It's been a while since I've played this game, but that does connect pretty close to the to one of the endings of Mass Effect 3.
Sovereign hasn't won yet. I can stop it from taking control of the station. Step aside and the invasion will never happen.
We can't stop it. Not forever. You saw the visions. You saw what happened to the Protheans. The Reapers are too powerful.
Not forever? I thought, again, like... So I looked it up a little bit, and apparently there is a reference made in Mass Effect 2 in which the Reapers are seen moving through dark space. Which... I guess I'll buy.
Some part of you must still realize this is wrong. You can fight this.
Maybe you're right. Maybe there is still a chance for...
Tell your captain you were right.
Sovereign is too strong. I'm sorry. It is too late for me.
It's not over yet. You can still redeem yourself.
Goodbye, Shepard. Thank you.
That was pretty awesome. Let's see if we can expel Sovereign from this station.
Vigil's data file worked. I've got control of all systems.
Quick! Open the station's arms. Maybe the fleet can take Sovereign down before he regains control of the station.
See if you can open a communications channel.
The Destiny Ascension. Main drives offline. Kinetic barriers down 40%. The Council is on board. I repeat, the Council is on board.
Normandy to the Citadel. Normandy to the Citadel. Please tell me that's you, Commander.
I'm here, Joker.
We caught that distress call, Commander. I'm sitting here in the Endura sector with the entire Arcturus fleet. We can save the Ascension. Just unlock the relays around the Citadel and we'll send the cavalry in.
Are you sure about this, Shepard? Human casualties will be very high if you send your fleet in now.
This is bigger than humanity. Sovereign is a threat to every organic species in the galaxy.
True. That's why you can't waste reinforcements trying to save the Council. You must hold them back until the Citadel arms open up and the human fleet can go after Sovereign.
What's the order, Commander? Come in now to save the Ascension, or hold back?
Let them die. Now here's the thing. Regardless if I save the Council or let the Council die, Sovereign is going to be defeated. It really changes who becomes the leaders in Mass Effect 2. But Mass Effect 2 replaces the Council with the Elusive Man, so that doesn't matter so much. Also, if I let the Council die, that essentially leads to a point where I decide whether Captain Anderson or Udina gets to become the leader, I guess. So I'm just gonna save the council.
Opening the relays now, Joker. We need to save the Ascension no matter what the cost.
I hope the council appreciates this.
Also, if we don't show up...
Ships, move in. Save the Destiny Ascension.
Does this get Admiral Hackett killed? Huh. You know, I don't actually know that.
Commander, we're picking up reinforcements. It's the Alliance. Thank the goddess.
You know, it seems as though the power level on all of these ships is way too high, and the defense on all these ships is way too low, because everybody seems to be dying in like one hit.
Repeat, you are all clear.
The Citadel's opening. All ships move in.
Nope, Admiral Hackett's still alive.
Make sure he's dead.
Do Taurians have a pulse? It's cold, but you know what? I don't blame him.
He's dead.
Oh no! I'm falling over! Ah, you thought we were gonna get by without a final boss fight.
I am sovereign, and this station is mine.
Let's see. Sabotage? Where did you go? Oh, you're right there. Oh, I'm overheating for some reason. That was fast. There. What have I got? I think that laser blast just overheats you. He's basically like one of those Geth stalkers, just like a more advanced version.
Negative. This is our only chance. Take that monster down no matter what the cost.
We need to give up. The end of the world is nigh, but we still need to give up. Let's say stasis? He's a little jumpy. That's Saren. Or should I say that's Saren Zombie. And just gotta knock down his shields again. Hold on. Oop. Almost dead. I should try to avoid that. Lyra's dead. You know, in a fight like this, it's a good idea to have other allies for the villain to shoot. And thus Saren returned to the dust from whence he came. And the Normandy gets its big hero moment.
Its shields are down. Now's our chance.
Hit her with everything we got.
Also, the Alliance gets their big hero moment, too.
Hard on my flank. We're going in.
Which is pretty awesome, considering. And those look really small from this shot, but
Captain Anderson, we found them. They're in here.
Take it easy. It's over. You're safe now.
we can begin the high fives. Also, I suppose this ties to Mass Effect 3 as well. The idea of Shepard being pulled out of underneath a whole bunch of debris. The appearance of being dead, but actually being alive. And really, if you're able to do it on your own strength, might as well hero pose. And then the high fives were non-stop. Shepard's palms burned for days after the event.
Ambassador, Captain, Commander Shepard. We have gathered here to recognize the enormous contributions of the Alliance forces in the war against Sovereign and the Geth.
We were pretty awesome.
Lost their lives in the battle to save the Citadel. Brave and courageous soldiers who willingly gave their lives so that we, the Council, might live.
There is no greater sacrifice, and we share your grief over the tragic loss of so many noble men and women.
Truly, there is no greater sacrifice than throwing away your life so that the Council might live. Oh yeah, and everybody else.
Shepard, your heroic and selfless actions serve as a symbol of everything humanity and the Alliance stand for.
And though we cannot bring back those valiant soldiers who gave their lives to save ours, we can honor their memories through our actions.
And we will honor it by forgiving you for stealing the ship. That's all. That's all we're going to do.
Proved you are worthy to join our ranks and serve beside us on the Citadel Council.
Counselor, on behalf of humanity and the Alliance, we thank you for this prestigious honor and humbly accept.
We will need a list of potential candidates to fill humanity's seat on the Council.
Given all that has happened, I am sure your recommendation will carry a great deal of weight, Commander. Do you support any particular candidate?
We need someone with the courage to stand up for what he believes in.
Somebody who's willing to punch politicians in the face.
You must be joking. Anderson prefers to let his fists do the talking.
Only with you, Ambassador. Only with you.
Are you sure about this, Commander? The captain's a soldier, not a politician.
I'm not picking you, because you're a douche.
We've already got too many politicians on the Citadel. The captain would be perfect for this job.
I think it's an inspired choice. The Council would welcome him with open arms, should he accept.
I'm honored, Counselor. As humanity's representative, I'll do everything in my power to help the Council.
You know, considering the importance of this choice,
the beginning of a new era for both humanity and the Council.
It feels as though there should have been a vote, like a democratic process. I don't know if that still exists in this future. Like if people still vote for humans in the Human Alliance.
Sovereign was only a vanguard. The Reaper fleet is still coming. Hundreds of ships, maybe thousands. And I'm gonna find some way to stop them.
So this is about where... Oh no, okay. We got the hero music first.
Humanity is ready to do its part. United with the rest of the Council, we have the strength to overcome any challenge. When the Reapers come, we must stand side by side. We must fight against them as one. And together, we will drive them back to dark space.
This finale hero pose thing, it's a little much. Mass Effect 2 doesn't have that. Mass Effect 3 definitely doesn't have that. Andromeda doesn't have it. Now, let's talk about Mass Effect 1. Now that we've finished it, what can we talk about it in review? How has it changed since it came out nearly a decade ago? When I played it the first time, I thought it was amazing. It's one of those rare games in which I finished, and the first thing I did after I finished was start playing it again, which was it was a little bit of an odd story because like it'd take me a good 30 hours, 25 to 30 hours to play through it the first time. And I finished it. Then I started playing it a second time, and then 1 hour into gameplay, my Xbox 360 acquired its red ring of death. And I had to send it in for a repair or replacement. I forget how they did it back then. It's been a whole, decade since then. So it's like I had just enough time left on my Xbox 360 clock to finish the game before it broke down, which was nice and convenient, instead of having to get all the way to the end and be like, oh, nope, 360's broken, you don't get to see the ending. Anyway, there are certain aspects to it that obviously, they didn't really hold up back then, they don't hold up now, and for me that would be the Mako driving and the side missions. Technically, you don't have to do them in order to complete the game. So you can say they get a little bit of a free pass on that, whereas in Mass Effect 2 and Mass Effect 3, Mass Effect 2, you have to scan planets, because if you scan planets, that gives you resources. When you get resources, you upgrade your ship. And if you don't upgrade your ship, that reduces your chances of surviving the suicide mission. With Mass Effect 3, you have to do the side missions, because doing the side missions gets you the resources enable you to get the best ending in the game. Whereas in Mass Effect 1, you don't have to do any of that in order to get technically the best ending. The only thing that really kind of upgrades for you is your status as a Paragon or a Renegade. The more time you spend doing side missions, the higher you are as a Paragon or a Renegade, and the better options you have in that final battle with Saren. Now, if I wasn't able to do that, what would have happened is I would have had 2 boss fights against Saren. One where he was just as implanted, indoctrinated Turian, and the other as the resurrected tool of Sovereign. But that wouldn't have really affected all the other choices I would have had to make. Characters wouldn't have died because I didn't do side missions, that kind of thing. And that's something that happens more for Mass Effect 2 and 3. I don't believe that's an issue with Andromeda. So you don't really have to drive around in the Mako. It just gives you some more resources so you could buy some stuff. But as you can see by the end of the game, I had tons and tons of money. Whether that tons and tons of money came from just doing all the side missions, I cannot say. But it did enable me to buy the Spectre equipment faster. And then there are the side missions. All the side missions, the Mako driving, the planet exploring. For me, it feels as though it's an attempt to make the universe more fleshed out, more well-rounded, to make it seem like you're exploring a universe. With playing games like Destiny and Destiny 2, the idea is that you're exploring this solar system that has these planets and there's activities to do. But when you go, even in Destiny 2 especially, you go to a planet and there's one guy there, and that's it. And he's the vendor shop guy. With Destiny 2, I think people were able to curb their expectations. With Destiny 1, there were promises, or at the very least it felt like the promises were for a greater experience. But then you had these incredibly small pieces of level connected to one kind of hub. Whereas with Mass Effect, you have these planets that you drive around on. You have multiple planets to drive around on. You've got multiple planets with missions and stories unique to each planet. And that's the feeling I get from it, even if the actual locations there's a lot of copy and paste. The kind of copy and paste you wouldn't quite see until Dragon Age 2, which has a lot of copy and paste in regards to its areas. A lot of areas that you just explore twice, for reasons. And then you end up fighting in the same levels in Mass Effect. You fight in the same levels, fighting maybe different arrangements of bad guys with different arrangements of boxes to make it seem like a slightly different environment. And it gets a little bit on the repetitive side, especially since in those levels, it seems as if the AI kind of behaves in a fashion where the group just kind of starts swarming around like bees, whereas it seems to be more developed for a linear structure of gameplay. Like looking at that ending sequence where I'm kind of like just charging up the elevator shaft. You've got the guys taking cover, they're up ahead of me. There's only a couple, there's usually just a few at a time. So there seems to be more, the enemies seem to be more aware of what options are available to them. Whereas in like the side missions, there's just so many of them, they just kind of like keep circling around themselves, let alone the environment, in attempts to come up with some sort of shot to get you. But aside from the side missions, aside from the Mako driving, then we move on to things like the character development, the plot development, and the story. I would say the story of the game is probably the best of the Mass Effects. It's at the very least, it's the simplest, but like Mass Effect 2, I think has a very clean story overall, but essentially becomes a character recruiting story. You go around to different planets, you find people, you get them on the squad. You get enough people onto your squad, and then you're able to move on to the next story mission. Whereas with Mass Effect 3, it just kind of goes from one event to the next as you're trying to piece together the MacGuffin that'll save the universe. So I would say the plot of Mass Effect 1 is probably the cleanest. The mystery as to what the conduit is, trying to figure out what Saren is up to. The biggest issue with Mass Effect 1 is the fact that the villain just disappears, but I mentioned that, or like the fact that Saren kind of like, he shows up at the beginning of the game, and then he's gone. As for like the character development, I guess that kind of like buys how much you really care about the individual's storylines. Like,
I'm here, Joker.
Like I didn't spend much time with Rex. I didn't really care too much about the Krogan issue. I didn't spend too much time with Garrus.
Are you sure about this,
even though he's a fan favorite, I would say he's more of a fan favorite because of Mass Effect 2 than Mass Effect 1.
Sovereign is a threat to every organic species in the galaxy.
And like the way that the character development happens, it kind of almost cements Bioware's strategy for character development. Do mission, talk to your characters. Do mission, talk to your characters. Do your characters. And that kind of becomes a little bit on the repetitive side the longer a game gets. With like Mass Effect, there are only so many like big story missions, so that kind of sequence only happens a few times. So it doesn't seem as though unless you're like me and you just shove all the side missions right at the beginning, and then you end up doing all the story missions back to back. So that would have been an interesting thing that they could have done instead. Something closer to how Destiny 2 does its side missions. where it unlocks a couple side missions, and then you do a story mission. And then it unlocks a couple side missions, and then you do a story mission. So something like, if in Mass Effect, you were able to do, like, it didn't unlock everything from the get-go. Or, alternatively, because everything is connected to a different relay, like, each story mission was kind of, like, branched out of whatever relay you were going to. That would have meant that you probably would have had to do things in a linear order, but I don't think doing things in a linear order would have necessarily interfered with this game. Because, like, you still have to do everything anyway. It doesn't really matter, like, it doesn't really matter to me so much the order you do it in. As for, like, if I was going to give it a rating now, 8 out of 10? Sure.
Thank you for watching. Questions, comments, recommendations for something to play next? Comment down below or send it on over to itsoundedgoodonpaper@gmail.com. That's itsoundedgoodonpaper@gmail.com. So long for now.